I'd like to welcome you to the tutorial for remembering the bones and prominent feature of the skull in the anterior view. That is, with the skull facing you head on. Now, as we go through, feel free to use these images or your own. Just remember to make the images memorable by making them odd, grotesque, or as politically incorrect as you like. Your brain remembers things much more easily when you do so. You'll need a memory palace with roughly 10 stops. Our first image will be of an ant, the insect, thus anterior view. So you can post the ant at the first stop along our journey. Now for those using a building, we can start at the front door, which we can use to remember the frontal bone. So if you wish, you could put a skull at the front door, and hopefully you think front door, you think frontal bone. As we move on to the next stop, we might picture Superman flying in orbit. This is to remember the supraorbital notch. Keep in mind these are only ideas and ones I have used with great success, but feel free to come up with images that will help you. If we move on now, the next stop will place a huge nose. Perhaps the huge nose is running and leaving a grisly trail on the floor. This is to signify the nasal bone. Now, the next stop is, well, we'll place a criminal, so perhaps someone in a burglar outfit, speaking in French or eating French food. This is the lacrimal bone. When I think lacrimal, even the way it looks like lacrimal, almost French-like. As we move on, and it's important here to use all our senses to picture our memory palace, perhaps we can see Norman Bates flying on a carpet or mat. This helps us remember the zygomatic bone, as in psychomat, Norman Bates being the character from Psycho, the movie and the television series, and a carpet or mat. So altogether, psychomatic or zygomatic bone. Moving along to your next stop, we'll place a foreman from a building site perhaps. Perhaps this special foreman can see infrared. This helps us remember the infraorbital foramen. So the infra as in infrared and foramen as in foreman. We're using the sound-like principle here, which you may remember from my earlier videos. So let's move on to the next stop on your journey. Perhaps we can see Mad Max from the movie, who's quite ill. This helps us see or remember the Maxilla. Max, ill, Once you've just got Max and ill, you've got Maxilla. Now, next is the mental foramen. Perhaps here we can see another foreman with a huge brain. Although you could actually link both the mental foramen and the infraorbital foramen to make the memorization easier. So you could have the foreman from earlier seeing infrared, and to see infrared he must have a huge brain. So if you combine them, that's going to make your memorization much more easier. A man wearing a bib on our next stop is the mandible. Man-bib. Sounds like mandib. Mandible. Believe it or not, we've only got one left. It's very important now to keep your memorization as powerful as possible, so really picture these. A magnificent close to let us know that time is temporary. And this is the temporal bone. So perhaps on the last stop of your journey, you can picture a magnificent clock, a huge clock, letting us know that the memorization of the journey has come to an end and time has run out, because time is temporary and the temporal bone is what links to the clock there. Thus our journey to remember the anterior view of the skull is complete. Now I would recommend visiting this part of your palace 2 to 3 times on the day you learn it. Then try staggering the visits periodically, making sure to change any image which is not memorable. All your images, and this is a key point, should be grotesque, politically incorrect, and even disgusting. Your brain will remember these sorts of images easier than bland ones. Go back if you forget these images, re-watch as many times as you like. If you would like more assistance or more ideas for images, just leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.